Hello and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing some good old RuneScape free, because that's a game that I've decided to resub to this month. It's been 9 months since I last played, and this is my Iron Man account. If anyone follows Adventures in Gielinor, that series I do, you will know that I play Iron Man so that I do not have to be subjected to the microtransactional hellscape that this game has slightly become, which of course poses additional difficulties around not being able to trade things. So for instance, when I'm doing this thing in Fort for Infantry and it's like you need to have a bunch of wood, and then I'm like, cool, I don't have that particular flavour of wood, I have to go cut it instead of just buying it off a GE. But you know what, I like it that way, because even though things take longer, it's more rewarding when you do complete the things that you're trying to complete. But yeah, this is Fort for Infantry, and it's this year's big content thing. And I try and do content in kind of chronologically released order, but I was burning out on that pretty quickly, and I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm probably not going to get any major story spoilers by just doing this, and yeah, lo and behold, no. All I know is that we're currently in an age of chaos, and there's a Zamorakian army marching on us, which really, I mean, you could have told me that 20 years ago and I would have thought it was part of the same storyline. But yeah, I felt the itch, and I've decided to give ESO a bit of a break. Purely because I was having less of a pull towards it, and I thought instead of forcing it, because I do absolutely love Necrom, it's not Necrom's fault, it's just the way my attention span works, I was like, I will give myself a nice big juicy helping of Necrom to do next time I return to ESO in the form of all of the side content, and obviously finishing leveling up my Arcanist. Oh right, on the screen there's an event going on right now, and I had no idea what it would reward me with. That's a hard sentence to say. So here's me opening a bunch of these, I guess. But yeah, I've really only just spun up my RuneScape subscription again. I keep saying sentences which are difficult to say, so I've not really done much in it yet. But expect another Adventures in Gielinor soon, I guess. I think I've also got a video's worth of clips on my external hard drive, which I need to go and bring over to my PC at some point when I'm not being lazy about it, so probably won't be like this stuff immediately. What else have I been playing this week? Well, yesterday I dipped my toes into Fire Emblem, which is interesting because that's a series which I've been curious about for a few years now, but I've literally never played. Every time I look at it, I feel like, or I hear stories about people, you know, doing the Skyrim problem where you play the first few hours of one of the newer games like multiple times over because you keep failing to get into it, and then you can never get into it because you've just tried it too many times and you're too familiar with the opening. I shouldn't say Skyrim problem, because that's not a Skyrim problem for me these days. It's more of a Dragon Age Origins problem for me these days. But I just kind of assumed that would be my experience as well. But then Good Vibes Gaming put out a video about the GBA game just called Fire Emblem over here, although it has some kind of other name which I can never remember. And apparently it's like the perfect introduction to Fire Emblem, and it's just on NSO at this point. And also it's a GBA game, so if you don't have NSO, I'm sure there's some legal ways you can acquire that and play that on your trusty PC device. But I'm giving it a go on the good old NSO. I'm like, hey, I pay for this thing, I should probably actually get some use out of it. And I'm only up to chapter 3, okay? These are like super early first impressions. I still have plenty of time to bounce off of this game and never talk about it again. But I'm bloody loving it. Speaking of RuneScape, there was a game on Funorb, which is a sister website, or was a sister website to RuneScape, where they did Flash games. And they basically ripped off Fire Emblem the same way they ripped off Worms, which is interesting. And the interesting thing about that is I loved it. I think it was like called Gods of Gielinor or Armies of Gielinor or something. And I absolutely loved it. And it's just Fire Emblem, and I should have put 2 and 2 together so much sooner, because now I'm playing Fire Emblem, I'm like, this is the game I loved all those years ago, except better because it's an actual proper fleshed out video game. So yeah, we'll see how far I get through Fire Emblem, and if I do enjoy it, that's the other thing, I'm not making a video about it. I'm leaving this one for me because it seems to be mostly narrative and then strategy, and I'm not sure how much content I could bring to that. But now that I'm playing through it, there have been several moments where I'm like, I kind of wish I could take a clip of this or whatever. But I'm trying to get more into like having games that are for me and games that are to record, because it's one of the reasons I don't play like I bought like a bunch of 3DS games just before the eShop went down, and I've not really played many of them, and that's one of like the underlying subconscious reasons I go to pick up my 3DS. I'm like, yeah, but I can't make content around this, and that's kind of just how I enjoy video games nowadays. I like them on 2 steps. I like playing them, and I like making videos about them. But you know what I never picked up for the 3DS? Fire Emblem Awakening. But you know what I have now picked up for the PC version of a 3DS, Fire Emblem Awakening, and I've not tried it yet. I'm gonna see if I can finish the original Fire Emblem, because apparently it's not that long of a game. I'm gonna see if I can finish the original one on GBA and see how I feel about it, and then I will play Fire Emblem Awakening, and that might be a video. You may be wondering, like, hang on a minute, what about all the things you talked about last week, like Watch Dogs Legion and ESO Necrom and stuff? I already addressed ESO Necrom, but yeah, I've still been playing some Watch Dogs Legion as well. Still been playing Minecraft on that community Minecraft server as well. Don't worry, I have not completely abandoned these. I haven't actually dropped them like my attention span does. I've just also been trying out new things. Another new thing I tried out this week, because I can't stay on one track for more than 2 seconds, is Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, and that game is adorable. I only have good things to say about it. It just came out on Game Pass. I think it's been out on consoles for a few years now, but it just came out on Game Pass and it's absolutely adorable. I'm only like a few weeks into it, but obviously it's not going to do anything particularly new if you've played these kinds of games before. I do believe it's a remaster of one of the original ones of these games, but you would have heard me talk all about this if you watched Kritigri. Fuck, I can't say my own name. Kritigri's Month in Gaming the other day, which is a new type of video, which is an audio version of a monthly blog post I've been doing. Oh my god. Finish a sentence! Anyway, it doesn't do anything new. It's very much like Stardew Valley, because Stardew Valley based itself off of that pretty much. But I actually never finished Stardew Valley, if you can finish a game like that. And I've never really played any other like Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons games. So there's plenty of fresh stuff in this game for me to enjoy. I've got a cute little farm and I'm talking to all the cute people. There's an achievement in that game for romancing all of the possible romanceable bachelors and bachelorettes, right? Which suits me just fine. I've read lots of online discussion about, do I have to romance all the guys as well? Like, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that you're not comfortable with that. I'm kind of lucky, I guess. But it's something I would never consider doing normally, but I actually really like this, like, this idea of like, oh, I'm just gonna court everyone and then pick who I want to marry at the end of it. Like, I don't think there's any negative consequences for doing so, like there apparently is in Stardew Valley. So we're just gonna call it polyamorous mode, okay? But I like that because, like, instead of just choosing one person to pursue right from the outset, I'm just trying to be super friendly with everyone I meet, and that's kind of fun. I mean, in Stardew Valley, I was still super friendly with everyone, but I wasn't trying to get in their pants. Oh god, no, these games are too wholesome for talk like that. Not sure where I'm going to find the time to keep playing it alongside the 1700 other things I'm playing right now. This always happens, like, I go through phases of having, like, literally nothing that I'm playing and just feeling lost and bored all the time, and then another phase where I'm trying to juggle 5 games at the same time. Did I even talk about The Crew 2 last week? Oh fuck, hang on. Okay, I think I did. I just got distracted while looking that up and was like, wait, what's happening with Hardcore Classic WoW? Hardcore Classic WoW is coming out fairly soon, so hopefully it's still a month or two away so that I don't have to pay for 2 MMOs at the same time, because I'm really interested in trying that. I don't know how long my attention span will survive being able to, like, run through low level areas and then die at level 12 and have to start all over again, but my plan for Hardcore Classic WoW, since I guess now we're talking about this instead, sorry, this is a very twisty turny episode of the Weekly Waypoint, but my approach to Hardcore Classic WoW isn't just going to be roll the same character every time and see how far I can get, even though that would probably be the logical thing to do, because then you get better and better at that class. What I'm going to do is every time I die, it's going to be a unique character with, like, a unique name and appearance and class and race combination, and when they die, they're dead, and then I'm going to go on to a different one. And I think something I've mentioned before is I'm really tempted to do some kind of, like, write-up, like, narrative write-up about their adventures, like, as if, like, they're journeying through the world like a diary, like, not try and make, like, a unique story for them, but be like, oh, and then this guy wanted me to help him kill you know, the kobolds in the mine, and then yeah, I'm being overwhelmed. So I guess it wouldn't be a diary, because they wouldn't be writing that in their diary if they were being overwhelmed, unless we're following Elder Scrolls rules. But that's something I'm really excited about doing as well. And speaking of old versions of MMOs, the reason I'm subbed back into RuneScape 3 is not for RuneScape 3. I didn't think I would get sucked into this Fort for Innisfree stuff. The reason I subbed back to RuneScape was because I was feeling the pull towards old school, because they have this forestry update, which is out now, and I haven't actually even touched it because I logged in and I was like, do I really want to start from a low level again? Because this is the same account as, like, my group Iron Man I made with Reese. I was like, do I really want to start from a low level again? Like, I set up RuneLite, I got the HD textures and everything, and then I was just like, bleh. So I booted up RuneScape 3, I was like, well, what's the newest thing in RuneScape 3? Oh, I really like it! So, I mean, shocker, I'm playing RuneScape 3 again. You know, there's people who prefer old school and there's people who prefer RuneScape 3. I like shiny things, and easier like quality of life stuff, I play RuneScape free. That being said, I am going to try and dip my toe into old school while I have this sub at the same time, because from my experience, the more time you dedicate to a character, the more fun it is to play RuneScape with that character. So I'm sure I could become an avid old school player if I was to dedicate a decent amount of time to that group Iron Man character. How am I going to do the chapters for this video? I'm probably just not going to bother because, oh my god, I can't stick to a single topic today. Call it ADHD if you like. The doctors still haven't got back to me. Okay, should we settle on one solid final topic for this video? I went to see Across the Spider-Verse with my friends the other day, and I had a lovely time, and I'm going to give you my impressions of the movie without giving you any spoilers, although this will naturally form your opinion of the movie going into it if you have not yet seen it, so if you are leaving us, thank you for watching. But I'm going to be talking about Spider-Verse for the rest of the video. Into the Spider-Verse was one of my favourite movies of all time. One of my favourite versions of Spider-Man of all time. And I remember when the first trailer came out for Spider-Verse, and everyone was like, oh, that seems neat. And I was like, no, guys, pay attention. This is something else. This is going to be insane. And I felt so vindicated when I was right about that. I've still only seen that movie once. I joke about like, oh, because I don't want to watch it a second time and find out that it's not as good as I remember or anything like that, but actually the real reason is I just don't rewatch movies. I don't really watch movies very often to begin with, but I probably am going to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse soon because of Across the Spider-Verse and how much I loved that movie. A criticism I heard about the movie before going into it was that it is half a movie, and I kind of agree. It structurally, speaking, like as far as the narrative goes, it ends on a hard cliffhanger, and it's not really like a cliffhanger that's built up to a climax like within part of that story. It's just straight up like chop, end of movie, cliffhanger, come back next time. And I don't hate that, but that's probably because I had the foreknowledge. But something I will say about Across the Spider-Verse is the first half of that movie is a 10 out of 10 movie. The second half of that movie is a 9 out of 10 movie. I think it's really good through and through, but the opening stuff with Spider-Gwen, first of all, I want a Spider-Gwen movie. I think there was talk about that, but I don't know if that just got kind of absorbed into this movie, because it definitely felt like a Spider-Gwen movie for the first, like, 20 minutes. I don't know how long it actually was, but it felt like about 20 minutes, and I absolutely loved it. And then I absolutely loved catching up with Miles and seeing what he had been up to, and I absolutely loved when Gwen went to meet Miles, and how that played out. And then they go to another place, and then from then on, after they go to that place, or after they've dealt with that place, from the way events shake out, and you kind of get the general plot of what's going on and what the main problem is, I wasn't a big fan of that. Or I wouldn't say I wasn't a big fan of it, but I didn't love it. I can't say too much more without going into spoiler territory, but they basically took Spider-Man's story and they kind of like, how do I put this? They took the structure of a typical Spider-Man story and made it like a actual hardline plot device, if that's the right way of saying that. And I didn't love that because I feel like that restricts what you're able to do with a Spider-Man story going forwards if that does turn out to be the case. It would be like if you tried to make some kind of meta-narrative about the phrase, it's like poetry, it rhymes for Star Wars, and then you were like, there is a reason that the different eras of Star Wars have to rhyme, and if that is broken, consequences ensue, That greatly limits what you can do in a Star Wars story from that point onwards, because then it has to rhyme. And I feel like it takes away the uniqueness of each Star Wars story by distilling it down to those rhyming points. Similar thing going on here. But it's not like a deal breaker for me. I was just like, oh, I kind of don't love this story. And this isn't a spoiler because it was shown in the trailer, but Miguel O'Hara, positioned as kind of like this almost villain. I think it was more nuanced in the movie, but it was something I was concerned about going into it. And I can't say that I loved it for him, but I wouldn't say it's out of character for him, at least not what I've read. I've only read the 90s stuff for 2099. I know he comes back in some of the more modern age comics. The one Spider-Man they did do dirty was poor Ben Reilly. And part of me, having read through the clone era stuff, does feel a little bit like, okay, come on. Like, I know this is a much maligned era of Spider-Man comics, but it's still interesting if you try and treat it seriously and they just turn him into a joke character. But the much, much, much larger part of me was just like bellowing with laughter as to what they were doing with Ben Reilly. I have to wonder how the creators of those stories feel seeing their character basically mocked on the screen, but it's fine. Don't take this shit too seriously. I wonder if there are some... I haven't really looked into this. I wonder if there are some Spider-Man fans who are raging about it on the internet. Probably, but who fucking cares? But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse. Turns out it was a really good movie. Who would have guessed? I know I saw it kind of late, but here's my take on it. Looking forward to the next one. Oh my god, it was just it was gorgeous. I remember like the first like 20 minutes of the movie as well. I was like, I forgot how fucking beautiful this art style is. Jesus Christ. There's still so many Marvel movies I need to catch up on, like Black Panther and Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. So I still have a lot to catch up on, but I'm hoping Guardians hits Disney Plus soon, because the other two are on Disney Plus. Oh, and Secret Invasion is happening. That's a thing. It's kind of mid, but sure.